unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time.
Is this a podcast? Is that what it is? It must be, because you can get it where you get podcasts. Because you need another podcast. There's only 1 billion of them, right? There aren't enough opinions. You need mine. You need my opinion. Why? Because mine's special. I've got a very special opinion. So people have been asking me to do podcasts for a long time. I remember even when I was younger, people would say, you should have a talk show. I think that was just a polite way of telling me that I talk too much and I have too many opinions when I probably shouldn't. And let me tell you, I had lots of ideas for talk shows, lots of ideas for podcasts. I set up studios for them. I literally have 2 different sets in my house that are all set up to go. I was going to do a dream podcast, because you know how I like to talk about dreams. I set up a camera. Now it's going to sound creepy, but I set up a bed. I set up a camera above it, and the idea is it would be 2 people lying in bed next to each other. What a fun way to start an interview, like in strangers, you know. And then the premise would be that you'd wake up, you'd open your eyes, you wouldn't have to look at each other, because, you know, when you're laying in bed, you're just kind of looking at the ceiling if you're talking to somebody. And then you would talk about your dreams as if they were actually happened. Like, what happened last night? So that was a podcast. And then you'd talk about it as if it was reality. Because dreams are reality. If it happened, right? If you remember it, what's the difference? Half the shit that happens when you're awake you don't remember, right? So if you remember it, it happened. And I want to encourage people to remember their dreams. I think it's the most interesting part of your life. Anyway, that's one podcast idea that I had. And I would still like to do that. And maybe I will do it, you know. But I don't have a lot of motivation to deal with other people's schedules. You know what I mean? I'm fiercely independent. I'm stubbornly, cripplingly independent. I will show up if I'm invited somewhere, you know, a few minutes in advance. But if you ask me to make plans for the future, ugh. So that's probably why I didn't do that show. Another one a podcast idea I had, and I still might do, is just interviewing people who hate me. A lot of people seem to hate me, especially in this town. You wouldn't believe how many people I've blocked. I mean, that would be a fun podcast right there. Just people I've blocked, or people who have blocked me. You know, try to figure out what happened. You know, track them down, get a nice microphone and say, why do you hate me? Why did you block me? You know, it'd be even better if there were people that I've actually met, and get to the bottom of why people block each other. That might be fun, but good luck getting anybody to agree to that kind of thing. One of the other ideas I had for a podcast was, some of you might have seen me playing piano in my van. I put a big piano in my van. It's got 2 doors. It's quite a spectacle when I play songs, sad songs for people randomly on the street. I haven't publicized it much on any of my social media because it's actually an experience that I kind of like to keep special, you know. I don't think everything needs to be shared on social media, and sometimes things that aren't, just being in a moment with some people, you know, in a mystery where they don't know what's going on and you don't know them, but you just sing a song and you connect like that. That's fun. But I also set up this van with extra microphones so I could do a mobile interviews, because I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was little, there was this guy on Sunday mornings named Charles Kuralt, and he did a show called On the Road with Charles Kuralt, and the premise for his show was that he would pull over into a town. He had a motorhome, not too different than my van, but he'd pull over into a town, and he would just open the phone book and put his finger down, and they would call that person and interview that person. And even as a kid, I found these interviews endlessly fascinating, that Charles Kuralt had a certain kind of talent at being able to ask the right kind of questions that anybody randomly could be selected, and he could dig in and find out their story, and you could learn something from it. You could come away feeling, with his show especially, a little bit more hopeful, a little bit more in tune with humanity. So that was the idea. That's how my van is equipped, and that could be an option. But at any rate, who knows where this thing will go? I just I spend so much time opinionating on Facebook that, figuring out the right blurb to write. Who knows why I do it? Who knows? Who knows why I'm talking into a microphone now? But there's something about just recording thoughts and working out ideas in your mind. I would consider myself to be a current student of the school of loudmouthery. Other people in that school, I think, are guys like Howard Stern. Didn't go to school, didn't go to college, just had a bunch of opinions, got himself into trouble a lot, and learned things on the way. There's a thing about being a loudmouth, being a know-it-all. I've been accused of that my whole life. Being expressive with your ideas, or being at least having the gumption or the gall to offer your opinion when others might not, is that you get pushback and people correct you and you make an ass of yourself, and sometimes you're wrong and you learn. So I've learned a lot that way. I'm 52. I'm 50 and I can kick. So there's things I've learned. And I think it's might be fun to share those things. Or at least just blabber into the wilderness. It doesn't cost you anything. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't cost me anything. It's a miracle I can do this. I spent the evening trying to figure out how to publish podcast feeds, and it only took an evening to figure out how to get it on Apple and how to get a feed and how to get it. And if I spend another evening, I'll figure out some other things, and somebody will probably tell me. As soon as you start doing things, you figure things out really quickly. You know what I mean? So, yeah, maybe you should have a podcast. I mean, it's cheaper than therapy. Right? Probably won't work as good as therapy. Probably will work better. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to publish my feed down this. So now, because on Facebook isn't the right place for people to listen to things, but now that I'll have a feed that you can subscribe to in any of your podcast programs, iTunes, etc., you'll be able to just listen to me while you're driving. Oh, what if somebody gets in a wreck while they're listening to me talk about dumb shit and they die? Ew. Can you imagine that? Crash. Bones breaking. People flying through glass. While I'm sitting there. I have an opinion about this. What you should do if you weren't such an idiot. I know. I overdo it. Anyway, we'll see where this goes. Thanks for listening.